topic on matters that affect our family and marital relationships, particularly from the angle of legal and social implications of those matters. So you're welcome. And tonight, we will be looking at some of the impacts of a harmful traditional practice that has, been around for such a long time. And considering that tradition should evolve, should be dynamic, should be progressive, unfortunately, this is a tradition that has lingered for too long, even without any further use or any use at all, if you may. And we're looking at how that harmful traditional practice impacts on marriages. And the practice we will be looking at tonight is the practice of female genital mutilation. Some people call it female circumcision, but it is a cutting, a mutilation, whether in part or in whole, of a woman's genitalia or the genitalia of a female, either as a child, being a girl, or a woman, being an adult. So that's what we'll be looking at tonight. I try to see that we look at these issues beyond just the legal or the legalistic perspective of it. How does it, in practical terms, how do these things impact our marriages? How does it, dampen or dull or occasion challenges in the wholesome enjoyment of marriages? You will agree with me that the marriage institution suffers a lot of challenges on many fronts. So as much as we can, it is important to us that you are enlightened enough such that you can handle this institution or the issues around this institution from the place of empathy, wisdom, and legal awareness. So that is why we're bringing this conversation today and looking at possible impact, of course harmful impact, of female genital mutilation on marriages. And I'm hopeful that as we have this conversation, some of you who may have experiences, who may have questions, who may have opinions on the subject, will call in to share these opinions, experiences, or even ask these questions so that we deal with them together. And in a little while, I'll share the numbers with you that you can use to call into our studio live and participate. After all, it is an intercourse, which means that it is an interactive program. Or you can also just send us a WhatsApp message if that is your preference. I'll be sharing the numbers with you in a short while. So I have already described or defined for us what female genital mutilation means. I said it is the cutting or the mutilation of the genitalia of a female person, whether as a girl or as a woman, and whether in part or in whole. So any cutting of that external part of the genitalia of a female person is female genital mutilation or female genital cutting. Some people also call it female circumcision, so that may be used interchangeably. And unfortunately, while we know and understand that circumcision of a boy child occasions medical advantages to the boy, there is no medical advantage at all. It may occur and the like. And most of the victims are children, which means that because they're children, they haven't even developed enough to withstand some of these things, and they may excessively bleed, and death may occur in extreme situations. So it is a harmful practice, and while we condemn it alongside the rest of the world today, as the world observes the International Day of Zero Tolerance for female genital mutilation, I want us to now narrow the conversation to how it may possibly impact on marriages so that we are more informed and then we can truly understand the reason why we should collectively say no to female genital mutilation. I had said to us that this conversation will be looking mostly at the social implications on how it impacts marriages. But I'll give you a little legal background. FGM, which is female genital mutilation, is not only a moral wrong. It is not only a personal harm against the victim. It is a crime against the Nigerian state. And I say this because the practice of FGM negates legal provisions. It's an infraction. It is a violation of the laws of Nigeria. And some of the laws I can readily mention to you will include the statutory provision as contained in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which enshrines everybody's their position, regardless of their tribe, their religion, and the rest of it. So long as that person is human, that person's right to the enjoyment or the respect of their dignity is protected under the Constitution. And FGM violates that right. So by that alone, it is unlawful. And then again, we also have the provision of the law of Constitution guaranteeing everybody's right to life. FGM is a threat, a serious threat to that right, because it puts the victim at possible risk of death. So on that basis, it violates constitutional provisions. Then, of course, under the VAP Act, which is operational in the FCT, but which has its adaptation in various states of the Federation, female genital mutilation is an offense. The Act recognizes it as an act of violence against a person. So the Act prohibits it if you are not the one who conducted it against a child or a woman. The fact that you were the one who procured the service, the fact that you were the one who supported the perpetration of that act, whether by providing where they did it or by supporting the doing of it or by protecting those who did it, makes you liable to the same punishment that the direct perpetrator is liable to. So the law does not permit for a person saying, I no follow, I only was there supporting them, or a light I'll shine for them. No. And mind you, if you raise the argument that it is your culture, that it is your tradition, excuse me, any culture or tradition that is not in conformity with the law becomes null and void to the extent of that inconsistency. And additionally, so long as that culture or that tradition is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, it then means that that culture or that tradition is dead on arrival. The Constitution, the law will not permit that culture to continue. The only reason why that kind of culture, any such, inhuman or degrading culture will continue is because nobody has raised a complaint against it, or nobody has tested that culture or that tradition before the law. If anybody does that, if anybody gains the confidence, the courage to put that culture or that tradition to the test, that culture or tradition will fall flat on the basis of the repugnancy test. And then, of course, we also have other provisions that forbids anything that causes anybody grievous bodily harm, both in the criminal code and in the penal act. And of course, that's what FGM does. it puts its victims at the risk of grievous harm and actually occasions grievous harm on them. And even the Child's Right Act or the Child's Right Law of the various states prohibits female genital mutilation on children. So if you look at it from any premise, there are multiple statutory provisions that prohibit, that condemn and sanction female genital mutilation. So beyond just the moral, point of it, the legal point is that it is an affront to the law of Nigeria. Therefore, persons who conduct it or support it or participate in it in any manner are liable upon conviction to punishments, which I have already mentioned some of them. So it is something that we need to desist from, it is something that we need to condemn, and it is something that we should have zero tolerance for in our communities, in our families, in our neighborhoods, wherever we find ourselves. We should speak up and condemn it. We should not support the perpetration of such heinous and barbaric acts on vulnerable girls and women. That said, let's now look at the social impact side of things, particularly as it affects our marriages. I already said marriages are buffered on all sides. Our marriages are attacked from many fronts. And FGM is one of the things threatening marriages, unknown to some of us. And I know the question you like to ask me is, how is so? When I return in about a minute, I will give you 10 possible ways that FGM may cause challenges of threatening the enjoyment of a marriage. Please stay with us. Thank you very much.
The roots of the issues that affect our marriages and families often lie in social nuances, mindsets, customs, and conventions. This can be further complicated by lack of understanding of the legal implications of our actions and inactions within domestic relations. Together, let's explore the legal and social issues that impact our marriages and families and gain a deeper understanding of how to navigate these complex relationships with empathy, wisdom, and legal awareness. Join Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the People's 105.5 FM Abuja for an intimate conversation in our family law talk show, Late Night Intercourse. Late Night Intercourse, only on the People's 105.5 FM Abuja. It's all about you.
You are welcome back. It's still your enlightening family law talk show, Late Night Intercourse, with your host, Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO, the Zest family lawyer. And this is coming live to you from your favorite radio station, People's 105.5 FM, Abuja, the station that's all about you. If you're not already following us on social media, please follow us on Facebook at People's 105.5 FM Abuja. On Instagram, it's People's FM_Abuja. And on X, it is at People's 105.5 FM. And then you can also follow me on Facebook as Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO, same as LinkedIn. And then on Instagram and TikTok, it's the Zest Family Lawyer. Please follow so that you'll be kept abreast of such conversations as we're having tonight. I had said to you that it is supposed to be an interactive program because indeed it is an intercourse. And I'll be expecting to be getting your thoughts, your opinion, and even possibly your questions. And if you want to do that, you may call us on 091 1222 1055. I'll take that again. The number to call to share your thoughts or to share an experience or even ask a question is 091 1222 1055. You may also send us a WhatsApp message on 091 11 12 1055. As I wait to get your call and hear your thoughts on this conversation topic, I had said to you before the short break that I will be enlightening us on about 10 ways that FGM may harmfully impact our marriages. And I would like to start with what is possibly the most important part of marriage: the intimacy that comes with it, the rights to conjugal, the conjugal rights that parties in a marriage should enjoy and of course expect to enjoy. Now, one of the rationale for the justification of FGM by those who don't know better, by those who unfortunately uphold this despicable practice, is that it helps a girl, maintain her chastity, or that it saves a girl from promiscuity and things like that. And then you ask yourself, how does saving a girl from promiscuity for her age, the period of her life when she is still a minor, which is up until when she's about 18, how should that be the only consideration for altering her life, a life she should live and enjoy well beyond the years when she's a minor? So when she comes to the age of maturity, when she has gained, informed choices of self, she is already deprived the right to exercise that choice in ways that benefit her or may bring her pleasure. And this, of course, translates into her obligations in a marriage union. You find that victims of FGM are likely to suffer pain during sexual intercourse. Because of that mutilation, because of the cutting they have, suffered, many of them have reduced vaginal elasticity, things that make it difficult for them to enjoy sex as an average person who hasn't suffered FGM. So for them, the whole exercise becomes painful. That beautiful intimacy between a husband and a wife becomes something they dread, something they don't look forward to, because they don't enjoy it. So if this is not a clear case of the society cutting its nose to spite its face, I don't know what else is. Because what it means is that though we are looking forward to our daughters getting of age and getting married and enjoying marriage, by exposing them to FGM, we deprive them of one of the primary benefits of marriage, because they will no longer be able to enjoy or to fully enjoy sexual intimacy with their spouses. So that's one of the dangers of FGM and how it may adversely affect marriages. Then the other thing that is also closely related to it is that such people, of course, will not or may not have sexual satisfaction, or they may have reduced sexual satisfaction. So except for those who may begin to explore other extreme manners or other sources of sexual pleasure outside of the vagina, and forgive the explicit FGM, is the close possible consequence of reduced enjoyment. So even for those who don't quite suffer pain, they may not just enjoy the whole intimacy thing. And it may estrange spouses because it reduces the points of intimacy. It reduces the points of bonding between a couple. So that's the second way that FGM may adversely impact our marriages. The other thing is that it also may cause difficulty in childbirth. The medical practitioners may better be able to explain this to us, but I've read up on it, and medical science says that victims of FGM suffer a lot of distortions in that region that may affect them during childbirth. So many of them may have complications like maybe prolonged or obstructed labor and things like that. So yes, it may cause difficulty in childbirth for the victim. The fourth thing I would like to talk about is that it exposes its victims to likely infections. And I imagine that every adult will readily understand how that exposure to infections may, over time, build pressure in a marriage, in a home, in a union. If a woman have to incessantly treat herself for one infection or the other, or it's not something anybody will be pleased with. It's nothing that any couple will look forward to. So it will naturally cause strain. It may even cause avoidable suspicions. It may begin to tell on the pocket of the home, because infections mean that the person will need medical attention, and medical attention is not free in Nigeria. So that's the fourth way that FGM may cause a strain, a challenge, harm in our marriages. Like I said to us earlier, the number to call if you have a question or you have an experience you'd love to share with us, or you want to just share a thought on this subject, whether in support or against, all opinions are welcome. We'd like to hear your thoughts, your point of view on this conversation. And the number to call will be 091 222. The number to call will be 091 1222 1055. I'll take it again. 091 1222 1055. That's the number to call if you want to share any thoughts with us on this conversation, or you want to share an opinion, or you want to even share an experience, or you have a question, something you'd like for me to clarify on this subject. I'll be happy to take it on. Just call that number or send us a WhatsApp message on 091 1112 1055. 0911 112 1055. Please call in or send in your messages to share your thoughts with me. After all, it is an intercourse. It should be symbiotic. You're listening to me, I also get your thoughts on it. So, I had shared the first 4 possible ways that FGM may impact our marriages adversely. Remember, the campaign is to end female genital mutilation, and I am sharing with us, reasons for us to realize that not only is it a legal offense, it is also a moral offense. And we have a caller on the line. Yes, please. Good evening and welcome to the late night intercourse. Yes, good evening. Your name, please, and where you're calling us from? Oh, goodness. My apologies, we lost that call. Please call back. We'll be happy to hear what you want to share with us. We'll be expecting your call back. So I had shared the first 4 with us, and then proceeding on the 10 possible ways that FGM may adversely affect marriages. The next one will be the psychological trauma that it may cause its victim, which unfortunately will also linger even in their marriages. We already know that trauma is not something that people easily heal from, except where they get, dedicated or careful professional care. Otherwise, most of us are victims of one trauma or the other, which sometimes may be lifelong. And FGM is one of those things, because it distorts the mind, its imprint, its effect, the pain of it for some of those who suffered it in ages where they are conscious of what transpired, and even the fact of how it robs the victims of certain sensitivity and the rest of those are such that it can leave long-lasting trauma on its victims, which may then cause emotional distance in their relationships with their spouses. So that's another way that FGM impacts our marriages negatively. That's another reason why no right-thinking person should support or justify FGM on any person, because its effects are quite long-lasting, if not outrightly lifelong, including the possible trauma it causes its victim. And many of them, may be unable to express these things. Some of them begin to lose self-esteem. Some of them begin to question themselves on why they don't respond to intimacy the way a normal person, quote and unquote, responds. They begin to think there's something wrong with them. They begin to feel that they fall short of the expectations or desires of their spouse. So that failure further burdens them and threatens their self-esteem. So each trauma is truly long-lasting, and it's nothing anybody should inflict on a fellow human, regardless whatever justification that person may have for it. And then the other will be fear and avoidance of intimacy. Because it begins to seem like a chore, it begins to seem like work, like duty, like the person is just performing a task. It's no longer something the person, pleasantly looks forward to. It's no longer a thing of pleasure, something where that person wants to relax with or bond with their partner or their spouse with. It becomes a very tedious task for them that they would rather not just have it. And you see, as life evolves, we find that women are becoming involved in many things, many responsibilities in the home beyond just, caregiving or homekeeping. Many women contribute even in winning bread for the family. Rightly so, understandably so. So with all of that strain and all of that stress, coupled with these challenges already, that person doesn't want intimacy. And then the man begins to feel deprived. The man begins to feel unsatisfied in the union. Unfortunately, both the man and the woman become victims. So when advocacies are made against these practices, any discerning person will understand that it is not just an advocacy in favor of women. No. It is an advocacy for the society, for the good of society. Because when every component of society is functioning at optimum, it contributes to the wholesome enjoyment of the rest of society. There is a balance. But once one section of society, one demographic lags behind, is subjugated, is dehumanized, loses esteem, invariably, it causes the society to become dysfunctional. So FGM is one of those things we must resist within our circles, within our spheres of influence, or our spheres of say. Whatever position we hold, whoever we may be, let us speak up. Whether we be religious leaders, traditional leaders, teachers, medical services providers, law enforcement, whoever it is we are, we have a role to play because we are part of society. And then the seventh thing is that, just as I have mentioned all of these things, you realize that the seventh thing becomes consequential likelihood of marital conflicts. All of the strain of avoiding intimacy, not enjoying intimacy, pain during intimacy or sexual intercourse, and all of those will, just heap up into so much strain in the union that conflicts are bound to then occur. Avoidable conflicts. Petty issues that people can just blow a kiss at each other and get over will become heightened because of the frustration of unsatisfied yearnings, because of the pent-up hunger of unrequited affection, and all of those. So things that should ordinarily not cause conflict will begin to cause conflict. Whether they be for the health consequences or complications we have mentioned, or the psychological distress that it causes the victims, and of course their spouses. Based on any of this, conflicts now happen more in the marriage. So FGM causes increased likelihood of marital conflict. Yes. And then the eighth thing is that FGM may also cause, increased likelihood of fertility issues. If we already said that it exposes its victims to, possible infections, if it causes pain and the rest of it during intercourse, it naturally follows that it may also cause fertility challenges. Maybe some of those untreated infections. Maybe some of the physical or, health consequences of the FGM itself. So it may actually cause fertility challenges between a spouse. And you ask yourself, is that an experience any right-thinking person should expose their loved ones to? I don't care what the arguments are. You hear things like, for aesthetics reasons, they want the place to look beautiful, so they cut off some flesh. And no. That place, why do you want to cut it off? Why do you want it to look beautiful? It's not a tourist destination. I'm not saying that people may not want to look good and feel good in every part of their body, but let that be a choice that the owner of the body exercises and listed. Oh, we have a caller. Yes, please. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, goodness. I don't know what's wrong with our call lines, but please don't relent. Don't lose hope. Can you please try again? The number to call if you want to share any thoughts, experience, or ask a question is 091 12 22 1055. You may also send us a WhatsApp message on 091 11 12 1055. Please let's make it an intercourse. I'd love to hear from you, or at the very least, read from you on WhatsApp if you send us a message with your question or your opinion or even an experience that you would like to share on the subject. So I was talking about how FGM may cause heightened risks of domestic violence in a marriage. And I was saying to us that an unsatisfied spouse may be predisposed to violence. There is no justification for violence at all. Mind you, I'm not saying that when a person is frustrated, when they are unsatisfied, then they can go ahead and be violent. No. But because we're having an adult conversation, I'm saying that it is possible to trigger violence. So which is why we need to understand that it is a potential risk. And we shouldn't subject anybody to FGM so that we avert such risks. So it may heighten the possibility, it may increase the possibility of domestic violence. We hear things like, maybe spousal battery or even spousal rape. I'm not going into the legality or otherwise of the concept of spousal rape. That's not the subject for tonight, whether you believe that it exists or not. But there are women who suffer forced or forceful intercourse in their marriages. And sometimes it is because those women, for no fault of theirs, are unable to submit or participate in a mutual intimacy. And then out of that frustration, even in cases where that inability or that unwillingness is occasioned by FGM, the man who does not understand the struggle of that woman, the pain, the difficulties, the challenges of that woman, may impose intercourse on her against her will, and in a manner that is aggressive, that is violent, that is abusive. So it can be any form of domestic violence. But yes, it does increase the possibility of domestic violence in a union. And then the 10th thing I'd like for us to talk about, I promised you 10 impacts or 10 possible impacts of FGM on our marriages. And having taken 9 of them, the 10th one I'd like for us to talk about is how it may erode trust, how it may erode confidence, how it may erode emotional bonding in a marriage. While marriage is a practical business, while it is a rational business, it is also an emotional business. There must be a healthy blend of rationality and emotions for any marriage to be wholesome, to be enjoyable for both parties. So anything that erodes that emotional bonding, causes the party to stray apart. It causes a strain on their bonding, on that union. FGM is one of such things. So it is a threat to the marriage institution. Even for the chaste woman, even for the virtuous woman who is not promiscuous, it is healthy, it is normal, it is expected that in her marriage, she should be able to express herself sexually with her lawful husband. FGM obstructs that full expression and that full enjoyment. So beyond just, whatever arguments as to chastity or purity or whatever, even the argument of curtailing libido, the person now finds themselves in an institution where they should have a healthy libido to, well enjoy that marriage, to service that marriage. They're unable to. Because a debasing culture has deprived them of that. So, I think that overall, for the 10 reasons I have given you and possibly more, FGM is a threat to the wholesome enjoyment of marriages. It is a threat to, the sustenance and the enjoyment of the marriage union, and can be a threat to the institution generally. So, the advocacy tonight and the enlightenment tonight is FGM is dangerous. It is degrading. It is dehumanizing. It is risky. It threatens and violates the dignity, the health, the esteem, the wellness, and the well-being of women and girls. Nobody should support it. Nobody should inflict it. Nobody should procure it against a girl or a woman. It is harmful. There are no medical benefits. And having said all of that, I don't know if there is anybody who is calling in to ask a question or to share a thought. I have said to us that please, if you're not already following us, please click the follow button on any of our social media handles, and for your favorite radio station, People's 105.5 FM, Abuja, the station that's all about you. The handles to follow will be People's 105.5 FM Abuja on Facebook, People's FM _Abuja on Instagram, and at People's 105.5 FM on X. And for the Zest Family Lawyer, you may follow me on Facebook as Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO. You will also find me as Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO on LinkedIn, and on X it is at ONYENUCHEYA-UKO. On Instagram and TikTok it is at the Zest Family Lawyer. Please click the follow button so that you are kept abreast of such enlightening conversations that will help you handle your marital and your family relationships from a place of empathy, wisdom, and legal awareness. That's all that the late night intercourse is about. We want to have a wholesome, society where marriages thrive, where family relations